When, in 1968, a working-class entrepreneur from Hackney set up a company with his initials, AMS Trading, it marked the commercial launch of perhaps the best-known rags-to-riches story in modern Britain. The founder of Amstrad had a talent for seizing an opportunity. His philosophy of business would bring technology to the masses, changing our lives forever.
The Amstrad A256 is a complete word processor.
AMS is Alan Michael Sugar, Lord Sugar. After nearly 6 decades in business, he survived bruising encounters in boardrooms and in the courts. He's hired and fired on prime time.
You're fired, you're fired, you're fired.
And remains one of the most outspoken tycoons in Britain today.
Well, there are certain things in life that I didn't think I'd ever experience. There you've got a leader of a country, of America, publicly having a slanging match with someone else. It's just not right.
What lessons does this giant of British business have for us? And what's the real story behind his success? Lord Sugar.
Hello, sir.
Sir Alan.
How are you? Not Sir Alan.
Not Sir Alan?
Well, I am still Sir Alan.
You are still Sir Alan. What would you like me to call you? I'd like to be respectful.
Well, you know, my friends call me Alan, but you can call me Lord Sugar.
That's just the note on which I was hoping to start.
Yeah.
Listen, thank you for speaking to me, and thank you for speaking to the BBC. You've had an extraordinary life, and there's a lot to discuss. How are you?
Well, interesting you say, how am I? Not very well. I've had a back operation in September where the surgeon went all the way down my spine, and I still can't walk for more than 10 minutes, so God knows.
Well, I hope not to cause you too much pain or discomfort today.
No,
Look, I want to actually start, if we may, with where we are today, not here in Essex, but Britain. Britain in the 21st century. You've been in business for over 6 decades. You've seen a lot of change. But actually, the data, the economic data we've got about the country right now could not be clearer. It's emphatic, right? So we've got a country where, in real terms, average wages have been stagnant for nearly 15 years. Productivity is pretty flat. Growth is flat. We're spending over 100 billion a year servicing our debts. That's growing. What's your sense of where we are as a nation? Is this a country in decline?
You know, you hit the nail on the head there. I have observed, you know, I started really getting interested in financial matters when I was about the age of 17, whatever. So we're talking now 60 years. What have I seen in 60 years? I've seen a massive revolution in technology, obviously, and a complete change in work ethic. I mean, the first thing you said to me today when I walked in, you said, oh, look, he's wearing a suit, right? Look at all my people here. They don't know what a suit is. I don't think the last time they've had one on. So I used to wear suits to come to work and all that stuff. That's gone. People are wearing jeans and T-shirts and all that type of stuff. As far as economics are concerned, inflation is unbelievable.
But inflation is just one of the set of problems we're facing. Since 2008, we've had flat wages, we've had low growth, low productivity, and high debt. And we're going to go on to talk about the world that you encountered when you were in your 20s. In 1968, you set up AMS Trading, Amstrad, and you encountered a world that was growing, a sense of optimism, people going to the moon. Britain today is stuck, isn't it?
It's stagnant, yeah.
Declining?
It's got a lot to do with Brexit. I'm sorry, I don't want to bring it up, but I mean, the Brexit
bring up whatever you like.
The biggest disaster I have experienced in my whole lifetime in business career. Those people who will be responsible for putting this country into 5 to 10 years of post-Brexit turmoil based on lies should be in prison. Brexit was a total, absolute disaster. And anybody who says it's not is deluded. That has changed so many things.
What do you think it would take to get this country growing again?
Go back into Europe? Seriously. Seriously. I mean, I've never met Starmer, but if I ever did, I would ask him, is it possible? What mechanism would it take to effectively get down on your bended knees and beg to be allowed back in again. That's what I would do. If I was in charge, I would beg to get back in again.
I've never really associated you with begging.
Exactly. That's how bad it is.
But for Sugar, it's not just Brexit that has altered the shape of business in Britain today.
None of mine would work from home. They're not allowed.
Why?
Because I don't agree with it. I've got a young chap who's just started a couple of months ago. It's a classic example of why you need to be in the office. Where's he going to learn his trade? Off of the bloke next to him, off of the woman next to him, off of the other lady down on the other desk. That's where he's going to learn that interaction. You know, the discipline of being here 9 o'clock in the morning, leaving at 5 o'clock at night.
So do you think working from home is not real work? That's what Sir Stuart Rose said about
Yeah,
it.
definitely. It's not. I mean, you know, I understand the concept. You know, a lot of people will argue, well, look, when I go to the office, I'm sitting in front of a computer all day long. I might as well sit in front of a computer all day long in my house. Not the same, I'm sorry, not the same.
Sugar's way of working made him a billionaire. But the economic status he enjoys now is far from the one he knew growing up. I want to talk to you about your childhood. Alan Michael Sugar, born 1947, Hackney. Tell me a bit about the flat on the Upper Clapton Road. Mother Faye, Father Nathan, what was that world like?
I look back, it was quite good. Dad and Mum never short of food on the table. Let's get that straight, OK? He was a big worrier, my dad, about where the next paycheck was coming. He was in an era where he would come home Friday and my mum would say, have you got work Monday? Because it was in an era where there was no job protection. So he worked in a garment factory. So it was always very, very nervous, conscious of money, very careful about money and all that stuff, which, from my point of view, was, I understood it. And I think that's when I was younger, I made my mind up that I mustn't ever be in this position myself. Must never, ever be in this position myself. I've got to fend for myself.
But did you want at an early age to be rich because you thought, I can see what the effect it's having on Dad, I can see he's worried, who's going to pay him on Friday? Or was it you wanted to be rich because you wanted to provide for them, you wanted to be able to...
Exactly what you said. I wanted to make sure that I didn't end up worrying like my dad. And so I had to make sure that I needed to get my hands on a bit of money.
Not long after primary school, Sugar was hustling on the streets of Hackney, always on the lookout for ways to do a deal.
So I'm now 15 or 16, OK? Looking out the window in Clapton, Upper Clapton Road, I see them, they're resurfacing the road, yeah? And in those days, under the layer of tarmac, instead of having concrete, they had herringbone chunks of wood impregnated in tar, right?
Which burns well.
Or not off, because my place where we
I can
live...
see, even as you're talking about it, I can see you're getting excited.
Yeah.
There's a little part of you's thinking, I know what to do here. And you're looking out the window and you're thinking...
I'm telling you why, because we had a fireplace in our place, and Mum and Dad had to go and buy from the grocery store a bundle of wood that you bought, and you stick it in the fire with newspaper underneath, and it was set fire and put the coal on it and all that type of thing. So I went downstairs, saw the workers. I said, what are you doing with all them? They said, nothing. I said, can I have some? So I got a pram, and an old pram, and then hauled them round into my bike shed, and then started chopping them up and flogging them to the bloke that we were buying sticks of wood from. Yeah, I don't know if I made enough margin.
What made you a good salesman?
I don't know. I suppose opportunity. Seeing, look, I just told you about the wooden blocks. Who else would think about that, looking out the window?
That's seeing an opportunity. That's not being good at selling it. And you were very good at selling stuff. There's an eye to that chance.
Extrapolate. I know I'm going to sell them. I knew here.
How'd you know?
I knew. It's here. and you can't explain it. You can't go into Boots and buy a bottle of entrepreneur juice, or go into WH Smith's and buy How to Become an Entrepreneur.
Sugar's confidence in his ability to spot an opportunity was rock solid, but the same couldn't be said for the confidence he felt in himself.
You had this particular moment when your friends kind of, I think they in effect sort of rejected you, and you turned into a bit of a recluse for a couple of years. What happened?
I don't know. I had friends which came from rather affluent families in Hackney, in Stoke Newington, and we were very friendly. And then they kind of like dumped me for some reason or other. I think it was their parents must have told them that he's not the type of bloke you want to hang around with. He's Cockney and this, that, and the other, and his parents, I don't know. Anyway, they dumped me, and I did become a bit of a recluse as a child. My mum and dad, sisters, and everybody were very worried about me because I used to sit at home doing nothing. What was wrong with me? I mean,
What was wrong with you?
I don't know. Just didn't want to mix or lost confidence, I suppose. I completely lost confidence. That's what it must have been.
Strange, because people that don't associate you with lacking confidence or being mute.
I know. Shy, I suppose.
Alan Sugar was shy.
Yeah, I'm telling you, it must have been shy because there was one occasion where suddenly I broke out like a scabby head.
Like a what?
Oh, scabby head. It's an old East End.
You're going to have to explain that to me, Sir Alan.
Scabby head, when you get a spot on your face, so they say you break out like a scab, it suddenly appears, right? Like a boil or something like that.
Right.
So my mother would say he broke out like a scabby head.
And you sort of snapped out of your child.
Well, we were in someone's house, and they were doing little word associations and little jokes like that, and they were taking Mickey out of adverts on TV. And suddenly, I did an advert for them, and that's when my humour came out, and that was it. That was a snapping joint, and I just carried on from there on.
I think parents watching this who've got introverted teenagers might take some reassurance from the fact that one moment can change things.
It's confidence.
Where does confidence come from?
With me, well, I've got loads of confidence, but I didn't have then.
Confidence restored and keen to start making a proper living, Sugar left school at 16. After failing an aptitude test at IBM, he had a brief stint as a civil servant and a trainee accountant, but soon found he was making more money from side hustles than any full-time job. It wasn't long before he decided to set out on his own, and he started by selling car aerials from a £50 van.
I said to my dad, I'm going to work for myself. And that's what his classic, well, who's going to pay you on Friday? So I'm going to pay myself. How are you going to do it? So can I set myself a target? And my target was £60 a week. I had to make profit of £60 a week, which in 1967 was a lot of money. A lot of money, right? And that was it. On the road, start flogging the aerials to some of my customers. And then my grandfather died and left me £500 million. No, that's a joke.
I knew you were here as a Nepo baby. Yeah, you inherited it.
No,
but
so that's where it started.
The first collection of car aerials made him a profit of £60. Transistor radios were next, and he was soon ready to start trading his first products branded with his company name, Amstrad. Over the next decade, he expanded his range and found ever more innovative ways to deliver cost savings.
I want to get into your technology career. So Bill Gates, a software developer. Steve Jobs, master of design. Mark Zuckerberg, a coder. Elon Musk's an engineer. What was Alan Sugar's approach?
I'm not a software engineer. I'm not even an electronics engineer, but I understand how they go about making it and how software drives it and all that type of stuff. So I would identify products. So my aim in life was to look at Sony, look at Philips, look at Grundig, look at Pioneer, and all those names, and look at the products they were selling, and my thoughts were, if I can make something for the average man in the street, the truck driver and his wife, and cut the price, make it even look the same, we're on a winner.
How did you do that? Did you get the product and then literally take it apart with your hands and you work out, I could find a bit there on the soldering, I could find a bit there on the, tell me about it. So you
Exactly. You got it spot on. I would open up a product and look inside, right, and say, well, that's a printed circuit board, a few transistors, a few resistors, a few diodes, a few capacitors, plastic, metal. So there's no way that Pioneer or Sony amplifier should be, £250. Should be more like 50 quid. And then the secret is to apply the margin. 1.54 was my famous index figure. So whatever it cost to produce, including labour and everything, I would apply 1.54 on top, right? And that would be my selling price, right?
Why 1.54?
Because I wanted 33.33%. That's what it is. It equates to 33.33%. I spent a lot of time in my minivan, right, running around buying something for £1 and selling it for £1.10p. Buying something for, £2 and selling it for £2.25. Mugs game, right? Mugs game. I thought, no more. I've got to make big margin, right? A very big margin. And that's my turning point of prosperity, to make a big margin.
You talk about how you had this philosophy of you wanted to bring these technology to the common man. Mm-hmm. Doesn't need to cost 2,000, it could cost 400. Doesn't need to cost 250, it could cost 50. Now, Jeff Bezos has got this thing about when he's looking at companies he might invest in, he says, with an entrepreneur, he's looking at, are they mercenaries who want to make money, or are they missionaries who have a passion? What was the kind of balance between you? Were you a mercenary who wanted to make money? Were you a missionary who wanted to bring technology?
I wanted to make money. Mercenary, call me what you want.
What do you think mercenary's got negative connotations?
Well, it might do, yeah. I mean, normally some bloke walks around with an AK-47 shooting people, isn't he? But
you wanted to make money.
I wanted to make money, yeah.
10 years after launching Amstrad, Sugar's company turnover was close to £6 million, with profits approaching £1 million. There was talk of going public. Sugar was just 32 years old.
How hard were you working at this point?
Very hard.
How hard?
Well, what do you mean how hard?
All day, every day?
Digging the road.
No, but did you give up your 20s? I mean, did you basically, in your 20s, you
No, I'm
sacrificed...
married now.
I know you're married to Anne, but you sort of...
I was up in the morning, 6 o'clock, out, and come back in the evening, 7 o'clock. Didn't see the kids. I was a horrible father, I think.
A horrible father or an absent father?
No, not a horrible father. I was a very, very good father. Sorry. I don't mean horrible. I mean horrible to Anne, really, in the sense that, she did all the work with the kids.
Do you regret that?
No, I don't regret it. I had to do it at the time. And it was quite common, really, in that day and age. It was quite common that you saw your kids on the weekend, really,
But do you think young people today don't have the work ethic, for instance, that you had?
Oh, definitely not.
Why do you say that?
Because they're not hungry, because they've all got their Nike trainers, because their parents have given them the Nike trainers, they've all got their iPhone 6 or iPhone 10 and all that stuff. I mean, my generation, we never gave out anything. You want something, you go get it yourself. I think young people these days want to fast-track themselves to prosperity. They haven't got the patience to sit down and really learn a trade. Or learn commerce or things like that. They want to fast-track themselves to the top. They want their Porsches, they want their Ferraris, they want their cars too quickly, right? About the ones that are perhaps not blessed academically, that leave school, unfortunately, they end up needing money, and it turns them to crime, I'm afraid. And there's too much crime going on, stealing iPhones, getting riding around on bikes and nicking iPhones. Easy way to make a living.
Power, self-drive, three-band tuner.
Sugar, on the other hand, just made it look easy. And by 1979, he'd spotted a gap in the market that would supercharge his profits.
129 pounds, 159 pounds, 149 pounds, 169 pounds, or less at these selected stores.
So the tower system. Alan Sugar looks at other kind of music equipment that's around. What made the TS40 revolutionary? Where was your edge?
I don't want to upset the consumers who are going to be watching your television programme.
Feel free to.
We called them, had to make them what's known as a mug's eyeful.
A mug's what?
Mug's eyeful. If you're a mug and you look at this thing, you go, bloody hell, that's good. See, only 200 quid, I can't believe it. Pioneer Sony one is like $3,000. How can that be, 200 quid? Right, so...
I've just got it. A mug's eyeful.
Yeah.
You're literally... So what you do, you're making it so beautiful that they think it's worth a lot more than what they pay for
Well,
it.
I'll tell you, let me tell you, this is where I think, if I say so myself, was very, very, very clever, right? Imagine I'd spent years making amplifiers and tuners and importing cassette decks. And the fashion at the time was that you had a cassette deck, a tuner and an amplifier sitting in a stack and a record player sitting on top. So they were all 5 different elements, right? There's your $2,000, right? So I think to myself, once the stuff's in the rack, it never comes out of the rack. It looks amplifier, tuner, cassette deck. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a front panel that looks like 3 separate things, so that it looks as if I've got a stack of things. And here's the clever bit, one power cord. One power cord comes out, plug it in, and bingo, you're done.
Why is that a revolutionary idea? Why is one power cord such an exciting business
Well, it
proposition?
wasn't really. Look, for the consumer, it was easygoing.
Convenience.
Convenient. For me, it was a no-brainer.
Do you know, if I may say, here we are probably 50 years on from that idea, and watching you come alive, it's an amazing... I can see your excitement, because I think it's a bit like looking out the window at the wood with the tar. You can see the edge, you can see where you can find a margin.
This approach to producing cut-price electronics would drive Amstrad's fortunes, and what he did for hi-fis, he would soon do for home computers.
The Amstrad CPC 464, the complete home computer.
My mates at Comet and Dixon's would say to me, "Here, Alan, you want to get in this computer business, you know, you should really get in it." So Alan says, I'm going to make a computer. First of all, it's got to look like a computer, not a pregnant calculator. So I made this mug's eyeful, if you like. You had a cable coming out where you connected the keyboard to the monitor, and you had another cable coming out which gave power not only to the keyboard but to the cassette and obviously to the monitor, right? So they're the same philosophy, all in one wire, took off like a rocket.
Alan Sugar is 39 and he is worth around £400 million, thanks to the computers and other electronic machinery made by the company he founded 16 years ago. Not bad for a lad from Hackney in the East End of London.
Sugar had helped to make computers affordable. And it wouldn't be the last time he would change the homes of Middle England. In 1988, Sugar received a phone call from media tycoon Rupert Murdoch asking to meet. Murdoch was positioning himself to launch satellite TV in Britain if he could get the right technology for the right price.
He says, this is what I want to do. I will pay for launching the satellite, but I need someone to make the equipment and it's got to be a reasonable price. I said, well, look, I'll tell you what, if you launch this satellite, I will make the product and I will put it into the market for you, right? It's very exciting, very, very exciting. I was excited, right? I swear to God, I swear to you on everything that is holy to me, I did not have a clue how we were going to do it, right? So he's gone, right, well, OK then, I'll thank you. Very useful, good. Off he goes, right?
Sugar had committed to the deal of a lifetime.
So I go downstairs to floor 7 to see Bob Watkins. So we better do a bit of research, first of all. Let's call in some satellite dish manufacturers and let's see how much they would charge us for a dish. The dish, a parabola, wherever it is. So we had these tossers come and see us, and they've gone, well, you see, there's a science in this. It's very geometrically designed and this, that, and the other. There's certain angles, and then we have this low noise block that sits in front and reflects a signal onto this thing. I said, so, well, all right, well, how much are they? How many would you be buying? I said, well, I think Mr. Murdoch would want, well, I'm sure we needed at least 1 million. OK. So they said, well, they're about £60 each. I said, you've got to be kidding. So I said, we threw them out. I said, here, Bob, I've just dawned upon me. They're dustbin lids. That's all they are. Metal dustbin. Remember my old-fashioned dustbins? Dustbin.
Yeah, I know what
but not plastic ones. There used to be a metal lid on a dustbin.
I know exactly what a metal dustbin lid is. I own several, but I'm trying to see how you got from satellite dishes to dustbins.
Because that's what they look like. They lift them up like that, and it's a thing like that. That's a bloody dustbin lid. It's not a satellite dish.
How did the satellite dish that you pioneered out of dustbin lids change Britain?
Well, look at the... go around all the council flats and go and drive around all the streets, and all you see is dishes up there. So Christopher Wren, he'll be known for St Paul's Cathedral. I guess one day I'll be known for all the satellite dishes on the people's houses.
In 1991, Sugar's next big deal saw him make an initial investment of over £4 million into Tottenham Hotspur Football Club, which was struggling financially.
9 tortuous months of cash crisis ended at White Hart Lane this morning when Alan Sugar and Terry Venables finally announced they were buying Spurs for £7.5 million.
Sugar became chairman, but the dream of running the North London club he'd supported all his life soon became a nightmare.
My first task, as far as I'm concerned, is to get the balance sheet into shape and can safely rely upon Terry to look after the football side.
How would you characterise that 10 years of your life?
Horrible. Horrible. But me being me, I'm a fighter, and I wasn't going to let it get me down, right? I had to fight my way through it, right? Horrible. The chairman's never good, no good, always my fault. Never mind the players, never mind the manager, my fault, right? Get your checkbook out and all that type of stuff. Horrible, horrible period.
The relationship between Sugar and his chief executive was fractious from the start. And 2 years later, Venables was forced out.
This is nothing new to the football industry. Managers are hired and fired every minute of the day.
In a case that generated massive headlines, Venables took Sugar to court.
I wonder if you could just have a look at something I want you to watch, which will bring back some memories and which you'd find interesting to watch. What do you make of that, watching that now?
Oh, it was horrible, horrible. I mean, can you imagine for my family, my wife, my son Daniel saying, Dad, give it up, give it back to him. Don't start a fight with him. You're getting, you're dealing with the god of football. Don't get involved. And that's kind of got my goat up. No, I'm never giving up. Never ever giving up.
Sugar won the case, and Venables was forced to walk away. But the next 8 years saw Sugar embroiled in further battles, sometimes with players and managers, sometimes with fans. In 2001, he called it a day.
What sort of toll did that take on you?
Horrible. My mates, they said to me, you have changed. You were such a funny man. You have us in hysterics. We'd go out socially. And you are now become a right miserable git. You open the newspaper every day, my fault for doing this, my fault for doing that, my fault for doing this. They done me in, it really done me in. I tell you, it done me in, no question of it.
Do you not like journalists?
I don't really like journalists general, certainly not sports journalists, that's for sure. I mean, there were a couple of good ones.
But you generally think journalists are guilty until proven innocent?
Journalists have got a job to do. They want a story, right? I'll never forget, the Daily Telegraph sent two ladies to interview me about business in general. And we talked about business, all the other facets of business, and then we hit on a subject. And I said, well, the problem with employment laws these days is that women, for example, I'm not allowed to ask them if they're going to have kids because you're not allowed to do that. I said, so, you know, that's all just a throwaway line. Well, that was it. The whole of the article, gone, all that. Next day, big headline. Sugar says, you know, don't want to employ people who wouldn't tell her about kids. And from then on, I got this blooming reputation of being, you know, anti-women, having kids and all that stuff. Just from a little throwaway line.
Well, there's no chance of me misrepresenting you.
No, I know.
So,
because I'll sue you. No.
Would you sue me?
No.
What's the subject I'd have to ask you about in order for you to sue me?
No, I'm not going to answer that.
So after the Tottenham years, you're approached by the BBC about making this business-based entertainment show. It's called The Apprentice. Why did you say yes?
Because Donald Trump in America did The Apprentice first of all, and I have got a home in America, in Florida, and all the people were telling my wife, for example, this is the greatest TV show ever, this Apprentice, you know, blah, 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 blah. And so I knew of it. And then the BBC came along and suggested me and the guy they put in charge of the programming and making the program, he'd followed me because he was a Tottenham fan and he knew how vociferous I was. I wasn't going to sit down and just let people slag me off all the time.
Billed in America as the ultimate job interview, The Apprentice crossed the Atlantic with Sugar at its helm. For 19 series, would-be business tycoons have competed to be Sugar's favourite. But along the way, they've had to face his uncompromising judgment.
I mean, it doesn't take rocket scientists to work out. You went for the wrong thing.
Is that the real you on The Apprentice? Obviously, it's edited, but do you feel that it's the persona that you have on The Apprentice?
That is me, mate. I'm promising you, right? Look, I have sat on the production line. I've made stuff. I've packed boxes. I've loaded lorries. I've delivered. I've collected money. Every single facet of business, I have done all of it, right? Done the whole lot. So when I got that Apprentice gig, right, sitting there listening to these, you know, budding entrepreneurs, I was able to interrogate them properly.
But do you think some of them, perhaps increasingly, go in there partly because it's a chance not just to be an entrepreneur and work with you, but because, frankly, they get some social media fame?
Absolutely.
Is that a problem?
I spot them straight away. So that's why they never become the winners. So they're out, but they're part and parcel of the entertainment package of the programme.
What is it that you see that you don't like?
No, I know what they're there for. They're there for the wrong reasons, right? They're there, but you can see them flicking the hair back and all that stuff, and doing the lipsticks and all that, you know, and coming in with their suits. And you can tell straight away.
Do first impressions make a big impression on you? Do you care about that?
First impressions are important, but they're not. You shouldn't really go by first impressions. You've got to wait a while to get a feeling for a person. Yeah.
What was your first impression of me?
You? Oh, well, rather charming fellow, I thought. Yes, actually, yes. So far, you've not upset me or anything like that.
Do you care if a series gets bad reviews?
We get terrible reviews now. I mean, you know...
Doesn't affect you?
It's like water off a duck's back. I'm immune to these journalists now.
And sometimes, as we've seen in this series, sometimes a candidate quits before you fire them. Why do you think that is?
I realise they're going to jump before they're pushed, in some cases. There's the famous one, Katie Hopkins. Remember her?
I do.
Ratchet Jaws, Rent a Mouth. I was about to say, well, I'll hire you. And she says, oh, actually, I don't want to do it. So she left.
OK. I think it's more important that I have the courtesy to get my plans in place first. And therefore, I suggest I stand down.
You're about to hire her,
Well, she was good. She was bloody good. She was the best. She was the best of that crew. No question of it.
Are you proud of the legacy the Apprentice has had
Absolutely,
for entrepreneurs in Britain?
Listen, when I took the job on of The Apprentice, I was already a multi-millionaire, whatever, yeah? Didn't do it for the money.
And to be clear, it is your money you put in, isn't it?
That is my money. I will give £250,000 and inject it into a company where the winner and I have a 50-50 basis, right?
How long are you going to keep doing it?
Well, let me tell you, I'm contracted to do the next series, which is the 20th. I have just signed confidentially, very, very confidential, another 3 years.
Primetime star and billionaire businessman. But it's Sugar's elevation to the House of Lords that perhaps best illustrates just how far the boy from Hackney has come.
Is it true that you last spoke in a debate in the House of Lords in 2018?
Yeah.
And last recorded a vote in the House of Lords in 2017?
Yeah.
Why so long ago?
No one listens to me there.
Don't you think if you're a member of our legislature with much wise advice to dispense that you should contribute?
They don't listen. They don't, you know, get the opportunity to...
Lord Sugar, but if I would interrupt for the first time in the course of this interview, if you were to speak in the House of Lords, people would listen. And I'd put to you that you both have a moral duty and a patriotic duty to contribute to that chamber.
OK. Well, I'll speak when there's something that I can speak about. I can't speak on matters of education, military, and all that type of stuff. So I enjoyed joining in debates where I could add my 2 pennyworth, if you like.
I want to ask your opinion about a few other prevailing matters. It was 50 years ago this year that Mrs. Thatcher became Tory leader.
Yes.
And the parallels, lots of people find between the 1970s and today are in some ways quite strong. A country that's a bit stuck, a sense that maybe no party's got the answer. Do you think this country could do with a dose of Thatcherism now?
Yeah, I mean, she was she was kind of a breath of fresh air. She liked me. She really liked me. She used to haul me around as a classic example of a chirpy chappy from the East End that's done well.
When you say we could do with a dose of Thatcherism, what do you mean? What's the thing that we need?
Well, she kind of like broke the mould of the old traditional... I mean, look at the city, for example. The city was made up of very stiff-necked kind of gentry that passed it down and all that stuff. She broke that mould, clear off. Any intelligent person, no matter what background they come from, no matter what race or nationality they come from, if they're brainy enough and clever enough, get in the city and become a stockbroker.
Who's the most impressive political leader you've come across?
I think she was, to be honest with you. Gordon Brown, I had a lot of admiration for him, right? Unfortunately, he took over at the wrong time.
This cabinet, the Labour cabinet, has very, very few people who've got first-hand experience of business. Is that a problem?
If somebody is in government that is the minister of business, for want of a better word, would help if they understood it, or they've done it, or they've been there and they've seen it, they've worn the T-shirt.
But when you look at that Rachel Reeves' first budget, a lot of people said it went after business in a big way, on rates, on the minimum wage, on...
But it's obvious, isn't it? I mean, it's an old-fashioned Labour Party, I suppose, that has come in now, where you whack people with taxes and things like that. I mean, you can't start dictating to business if you've not been there yourself.
Do you think, you mentioned Thatcher and what you admired about her, do you think we could do a bit of the shock therapy that Donald Trump is delivering for America over here?
I'm not going to comment about Donald Trump.
Why?
Because he has... I don't want to comment about him. I don't wish to comment about him.
Is it because you don't like the... Even if we're talking about why you're not going to comment on him, is it because you don't like the comparison between the two?
No.
Or because you don't want
There's no comparison. There's nothing like me and I'm nothing like him. But the point is that what he's doing is very, very unusual.
I'm not interested in fueling any rows or any of that sort of thing. But I wonder if, for instance, you saw his meeting with President Zelensky of Ukraine.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. There are certain things in life that I didn't think I'd ever experience. One was Brexit, which is a biggest tragedy. There you've got a leader of a country, of America, publicly having a slanging match with someone else. It's just not right. I mean,
What's not
have
right?
this publicly slanging match. By all means, have a slanging match behind closed doors, but not publicly. It's not right.
What, because it was humiliating for Zelensky?
It was humiliating for Zelensky. I don't know. I think you saw Trump's temper. You saw that come up when Zelensky was sitting there quietly. He mentioned something, and then suddenly Trump went into action. It's just not right. It's not statesman-like, is it? It's not, you know, I mean, look, he can have his feelings, he can have his opinions, but you can't air them publicly in the manner in which he did. I don't think he did himself a favour there, Donald Trump. I don't think he did worldwide. He may have done himself a favour amongst some of the Americans that backed him, but I don't think he did himself a favour, quite honestly.
But what's the best way to deal with someone like that? Because some people say, don't take him too literally, he doesn't necessarily mean what he says, everything's a negotiation. How do you get the best out of him?
The only way you can deal with him is to not disagree with him. End of.
We were going to do this interview last year, then we didn't, for various reasons, I think, to your diary, but also after the Sunday Times had a report about you saying that by going to Australia, you avoided £186 million in tax. Was the Sunday Times right?
That's wasn't it?
Was it?
I'll show you the check, mate.
So what they said, let me spell it out for you and you can tell me where they got wrong. They said that by trying to declare yourself a non-UK resident, tried to avoid £186 million in tax on a £390 million dividend. Is that not true?
Total right. I wrote the cheque out. I didn't write a cheque. I sent them by telegraphic transfer. I'm going to get my man downstairs, Danny, to bring up the cheque.
And so it's not true that you basically, or your tax advisors, didn't realise that as a member of the House of Lords, you're automatically resident in the UK?
I didn't either, but it was a thought of me taking a large dividend and not paying tax, but then it appears that I couldn't do that because I was a member of the House of Lords, so...
So in the end, you paid it?
Yeah, of course. I paid a £50 million cheque to them once. I paid the £186 million cheque to them.
Do you think large-scale tax avoidance is wrong?
I've happily paid my money away all my life.
Quick fire, because I'm conscious of your time. What time do you wake up in the morning?
Now, about 5:30, 6.
5:30 still?
Yeah, well, I'm old.
Favourite meal?
Favourite meal is comfort food, you know, fish and chips.
Guilty pleasure?
Guilty pleasure is having a jet.
What would be your advice to your 21-year-old self?
21-year-old self? Well, follow me. Follow what I did. Follow what I did. Honesty, integrity, be straight. No tell them as it is.
Alan Michael Sugar, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
OK.
He's gone, but I still miss him. Who calls a single meeting? Then I will never forget it forever. Then his heart has to fight again, so both had to suffer. Hello, now I know what to do when nostalgia always overflows. I wanna scream and let the whole world know that I'm in love. A love that goes against the road and against the sun. A love that is more bitter than happy. And sometimes I wanna give it all up, but I can't.
Hả? Mưa.
Then I will never forget it forever. Then this heart has to fight again, so both had to suffer. Hello, now I know what to do when nostalgia always overflows. I wanna scream and let the whole world know that I'm in love. A love that goes against the road and against the sun.